Hello and welcome to this segment of Textile Talks. My name is Craig Diamond, and today we're going to explore a very specific type of textile called tanalak. And tanalak is woven by the Tboli people who live in the mountains of South Cotabato in the southwestern portion on the island of Mindanao. First, some basics. The textile itself is crafted from abaca. It utilizes warp Ikat in process and natural dyes for the colors, which are red, black, and the natural color of the abaca itself, which is a creamy white. There's much written and documented about the process of producing this type of textile. It's an amazing artistic feat, and it's a very long and labor-intensive operation involving many individuals and often taking several months to complete. However, rarely explored are the pieces themselves, their historical and contemporary uses, as well as the amazingly broad array of patterns and motifs. Really a simple appreciation and recognition of these masterful works of art and their cultural significance. Tanalak has many ceremonial uses: births, deaths, weddings, including being a key component of a dowry, and cultural celebrations of all sorts. For wedding ceremonies, there's a specific pattern used to create a massive and stunning cloth known as a yakumu, which translates to mother blanket. This piece is achieved by actually sewing 3 pieces of tanalak together to form a textile that can measure anywhere from 6 to 7 feet wide and up to 30 feet in length. This captivating piece was created for me in 2012 by the late Yoy Tingao. Nearly 30 feet long and my first yakumu, but sadly, her last. This piece was woven for me in 2014 by my friend Subi Nalon, who passed away in 2017. This impressive piece measures nearly 35 feet in length, and look at the exquisite detail. I found this remarkable yakumu in a New York gallery, having been stored away for decades. She measures approximately 9 feet by 6 feet and dates back to the early 20th century. Lastly, this superb yakumu came from a Southern California collection and is approximately 50 to 60 years old. In addition to the wide variety of ceremonial uses, the Tboli also used tanalak for articles of clothing. For women, in the past, tanalak would be used to construct skirts. This is no longer done, as the women now utilize softer and cooler cotton fabrics for this purpose. However, for the men, the historical tradition continues, and full suits are constructed of tanalak textile, as well as shorts and vests, most often worn today on special or formal occasions. Here's a photo from 2016 showing my friend Slanting Tuhol wearing a modern-day full Tboli suit constructed of tanalak fabric. Lastly, from the standpoint of commerce, historically, tanalak has been a highly valued item of trade. Until relatively recently, the Tboli primarily engaged in a barter economy. So tanalak was actually a form of currency used to acquire horses, carabao, food, gongs, and other important items. Thus, the weaving of tanalak was and remains a vital and admired skill for a Tboli woman and her family. Okay, let's have a look at a few specific patterns and pieces. But first, let me start with 3 important considerations relative to observing tanalak patterns and pieces. First, We need to remember that these pieces are produced via Ikat with resist dyeing of the warp threads. And this makes creating detail and precision extremely difficult. But as you'll see with this piece, as well as others that we'll take a look at, it's been done masterfully by the Tboli weavers. Second, remember that each piece is one of a kind, and so different weavers might have different interpretations of the same pattern. And even the same weaver doing the same pattern for a second time would always have slight variations. Lastly, please note that when observing the pattern, it is primarily expressed through the color white. Areas of red would be considered embellishment, and black would be the background. So as you're looking for the pattern, always look first to the areas of white. Let's have a look at this beautiful piece beside me. The pattern is called Bangala, and Bangala is by far the most important pattern for a Tboli weaver. This is a superior example of this most revered and prized pattern. Often described as a man represented by this figure being securely within his home, represented by this pattern here on the outside, all the way across and up and down vertically. While all Tboli weavers aspire to pursue Bangala, it's said that the pattern and the spirit of the pattern actually chooses the weaver, and few are chosen to master this respected pattern. The standards are exacting, and the weaver needs to be spiritually prepared. It's believed that if a weaver is attempting to weave Bangala without being chosen by the spirit, she risks falling ill and then may be compelled to discontinue the pattern or simply change her loom into a more friendlier weave. This specific, important, and outstanding piece was found in an Australian gallery, and it dates back to roughly 50 to 60 years. This pattern is called Daun Basag. The Daun Basag pattern is simply named after what it depicts, a palm leaf, which is said to indicate the nearness of a source of water. Folklore also notes the basag as one of the stairways to heaven. Considered to be a relatively easy and welcoming pattern by weavers and a popular favorite among buyers. This piece was woven approximately 5 years ago. This pattern is called bedbuyus. Bedbuyus is generally considered to be a warrior's pattern in that it depicts arrowheads or spears used in battle or hunting. Historically, this pattern was woven when crafting men's trousers or blazers. As you can see, it's a bold, formidable pattern meant to showcase strength and courage. This striking piece was woven about 5 years ago with strict faithfulness to the ancient pattern. This pattern is called gemewet. Gemewet is a favored pattern by skilled weavers, as it's thought of as being friendly and accessible. At its best, it's a stunningly intricate pattern, and it represents its name gemewet perfectly, which means interconnectedness or connection. The pattern is continuous and interlinked, flowing into each other smoothly and fluidly. This extremely well done and well preserved example was likely woven in the early to mid 20th century. Lastly, let's explore this piece woven in the pattern called Gemayao. It's said that this ancient and popular pattern represents a rarely seen and wonderfully large seabird flapping its wings. Aside from its stunning presentation, this specific piece is culturally a significant treasure, woven by the late Dulai. Of all Tboli weavers, she's easily the most well-known and acclaimed. In 1998, Dulai was recognized as a National Living Treasure by the National Commission for Culture and Arts of the Philippines. She was the first, and thus far still the only, Tboli awarded with this recognition. After receiving the award, she was encouraged to begin signing her pieces for purposes of provenance, and this is how she decided to do it. She couldn't sign the tanalak, but as you can see, she could weave her name into it. Langdulay. Currently, as noted, tanalak continues to be used for men's formal clothing and remains fundamental to all Tboli ceremonies and cultural celebrations. It has also evolved into a significant source of traditional commerce and income for the weavers, their families, and the community as a whole. Tanalak is in demand locally, but also by visitors and tourists to the region, fashion and interior designers, collectors, museums, and textile enthusiasts around the world. Tanalak is a key cultural identifier, recognized worldwide as uniquely and purely Tboli. No matter its ultimate use, each and every tanalak is designed and woven with great care, forethought, and in coordination with the spirits, with full attention to quality, precision, and artistry. Each weaver carries within her a deep respect for her culture, combined with the desire and the ability to create an undeniably beautiful, useful, and culturally significant work of art. Thank you for watching and listening. I hope you enjoyed this glimpse at the remarkable textile known as tanalak and the masterful artists who weave her. My family and I had the honor of meeting Langdulay in 2013. Here is a photo of Langdulay along with her granddaughter and my children sitting in between them. We can never forget how at one point she rose from her comfortable chair, proudly sat down on the humble split bamboo floor, fastened herself into her cherished backstrap loom, and began to weave for us. Her stoic face changed to a bright smile, and her eyes beamed like those of a child. Less than 2 years later, she was gone, passing away in April 2015.